first time I ever saw what I've come to learn is a hereditary trait was in my father. He had this blue ring that we all saw, and we thought he must have some kind of problem with his eyes. So my sister, being a practitioner, she took him to an ophthalmologist. And all that ophthalmologist ever said was that there's nothing wrong with him. He doesn't have any kind of disease. So we were just happy and left it at that. Then in 2008, my husband and I were getting ready to go out. And for the first time in our marriage, I was ready before him. So I decided to put on some mascara because I generally just wear lipstick. So I leaned into the mirror and I went to put the mascara on and I saw that same blue ring. And I said, oh my God, I'm getting Daddy's eyes. But I didn't get worried about it because I already knew that it wasn't any sign of a disease or anything wrong. So I didn't think anything more about it except that I knew I was getting Daddy's eyes. And 2 weeks after that was my appointment with an ophthalmologist. And so after he finished the exam, I said to him, are you done? He seemed to be finished to me. So I said, are you done? He said, oh yeah. I said, did you see that blue ring? He said, oh yeah, I saw it the last time you were here, which was a year previous. And so I said, well, what is it? He said, oh, don't worry about it. It's nothing. I said, yeah, but what is it? He said, it's just your heredity. I said, but what is it called? He said, it's not an eye disease, but it's called Corneal Arcus. So, being a journalist, I raced home and wanted to look it up to see what is Corneal Arcus. And as I was reading it, it said that if you have it in your late teens to early 20s, that it means that you have too many lipid cells in your body. But if it shows up after the age of 55, it's your heredity. So that wasn't enough for me. I wanted to know, well, where does this come from? And so I Googled origins of Corneal Arcus, and that's when it took me to a site that talked about the Bukola people in Cameroon. And I thought, wait a minute. I saw on my brother's DNA that we have ethnic relations, connections to that ethnic group in Cameroon. I was so shocked, I almost fell out the chair. I just couldn't believe it. So I ran to the phone and called my sister and I said, you're not gonna believe it, but that blue ring that we all have is called Corneal Arcus. And we have it because we're related to the Bukola people in Cameroon. If you recall, it's on Sonny, that's our brother, it's on his DNA list of DNA connections to people around the world. So I thought, wow, I can't believe that this trait that we all have is related to a specific ethnic group in Cameroon. But it was amazing to me how many people in the family have this trait. One gentleman, his eyes were so blue, I couldn't stop. That ring was so pronounced and so blue, I couldn't stop looking at him. And he saw me looking at him and he said, you know, I can't believe that my eyes have become so blue over all these years. And he said, white people look at me like I'm some kind of freak because who's ever seen black people with blue eyes? But he definitely had it. On top of that, in my travels to the Caribbean, I saw people with that trait. I've seen it around this country. I've even seen it with people right here in Columbus. And when I see somebody with the trait, I walk up to them and I say, oh my God, you have Corneal Arcus. And then it scares them to death because they think it's some kind of disease because it does sound like it's a disease, but it's not. So I explain to them what it is and I tell them, hey, we're related. And I tell them that we're related to the Bukola people in Cameroon. This trait has continued and survived in all of us who have it through the transatlantic slave trade. I've seen this trait with people in Jamaica. I've seen it in Trinidad and Tobago. A friend of mine in Antigua, he's from Guyana. He told me that his mother's family, all of them have it. I've seen it in St. Lucia, Barbados, and I'm sure that there must be a number of people in Brazil with it because the largest number of Africans that were kidnapped from the west coast of Africa and brought to the West The largest number went to Brazil. You know, I'm a child of the 60s, and I remember when James Brown came out with that record, Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud. Well, I've been black and I'm proud ever since James Brown came out with that record. And I've always been interested in finding out who and how I'm related to whatever group in Africa.